Lady Gaga, because he managed Lady Gaga, her first major tour. And we talked to about 3 in the morning about touring and how to get it started. So, I look back and I smile because, again, people don't know this about me. They don't know my plethora of work that I've done.
Welcome back to part two of my discussion with Mr. Mathew Knowles. Three things you will learn from this episode. Number one, how Mr. Mathew Knowles expanded Destiny's Child into music world entertainment and built one of the most successful independent labels in history. Number two, how a breast cancer diagnosis became a defining moment in his life, shifting his focus to purpose, wellness, and advocacy. And number three, why Mr. Knowles' keynote stages now rival his boardrooms and how he's using his platform to educate, empower, and inspire the next generation of leaders. Welcome to this episode of the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. I feature Olympians, CEOs, disruptors, authors, professional athletes, and the best of the best, where they share their stories of resilience with my lens on leadership and culture. Let's get started. This conversation is continuing. If you didn't listen to the first episode, please go back and do that. In part one, we explored his rise in corporate sales, his bold leap into the music industry, and how he built Destiny's Child into a global phenomenon, which we are going to continue to talk about. And in this episode, we picked up right where we left off. So he has turned a chart-topping group into a full-scale enterprise with Music World Entertainment. We will talk about how he scaled that success, faced a life-changing health diagnosis, and found a new purpose as a speaker, educator, author, and advocate. This is a story about evolution, legacy, and leading with intention. Welcome back to the show, Mr. Knowles. I'm so excited to keep talking.
Oh, glad to get back here, Lyndsay.
This is so much fun, and I am learning so much. I knew so much already, but I just love the details that you're sharing. So where we left off last time, you had schooled yourself, you attended tons of conferences, you learned what you needed to know to really navigate the music industry, which I applaud you, because I think most parents would be like, we're going to wing it and listen to a few good people, and my daughter's got talent, so let's go. But you really talked about how you were building a brand, and it wasn't just you're building talent. And that's where I'd love to continue the conversation. So
Sure,
we
sure.
we go from Destiny's Child, talk about going into music world, and what was that like? How did you scale? Take us through that story.
Yeah, I do. I want to go back just 3 or 4 minutes
Yeah.
because I think it's important. You know, doing artist development, and we spent a lot of time on artist development. Destiny's Child, the ladies were young. They got a record deal at 15. Beyonce was 15. And they really were passionate, you know, because when you have passion, you have the work ethics, and they work very hard to become the best. And also, what it required, the four pillars of really success in the music industry, talent is certainly one, but you also have to have great songs.
Right.
And we began to understand that you could have all the talent, but not great songs. It really doesn't equate to success. And then the next thing you have to have is a very strong marketing and strategy for your marketing. And that came with the relationship that we built and I built with uh, Tommy Mottola. Is that a
Mm.
name that you know?
Oh yeah, of course. Yes.
Who's a
Tony.
legend. And he became my Worth Davis at Zero.
Mm.
He kind of took me under his wings.
Couldn't
And
think
I
of a better
always
guy.
remember him saying, he was married to Mariah Carey then.
That's right.
He says, Matthew, I hope one thing you always do, Beyonce is so nice and humble, is that she stays that way.
Mm.
And I never, he would always talk to me, and I learned a tremendous amount. So building relationships is a key thing in the music industry.
I
And,
think
and
that's key in
then,
every industry, don't you? I mean, you had it in I mean, we talked about it in part one. You built these
yeah,
relationships that carried you into the boardrooms and allowed you to meet all these incredible people. That's not so different than the advice he gave. I just
but
love
most
it.
people don't know that or know how to do that or know the importance of that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we're talking about that. And so, you know, Tommy and Donnie Einer was the president, great relationships. And the fourth pillar is understanding that it's the world. See, most artists approach and most business people approach just the United States.
Sure.
There's a whole world out there. Do you want to sell to 330 million people, or do you want to sell to 7.4 billion people?
We'll take the second.
And that's why we named the company Music World.
Yes, smart.
Entertainment. See, I helped you with that transition.
That was good. I love it. I love it. That's so good. So, okay, so Music World becomes a thing and you start signing other acts, right?
I started signing other acts. Actually, the first artist I was at the beginning wasn't Destiny's Child. It was a rapper, Lil O, that I convinced his record label on his first single called Can't Stop. And it says featuring Destiny. Now, he's a new artist that's never put out a song.
Yeah.
And here's this other artist that's never put out a song. Their number one competitor. And I convinced them to do it. I don't still to this day. That's what was a major feat to do that. And my first time on tour was with Lil O, and I learned a lot. And then was Destiny's Child. And at that time, then 2002, literally sold Music World to the largest independent record label and management in the world, Sanctuary, out of London. And then we formed an urban division. So at that time, I became, in 2002, the president of a new urban division. We had about 65 employees. And then we had a record label. We signed Earth, Wind, and Fire. You heard of them, right?
Of course. I've seen them.
OJ's,
yes.
You heard of them. Shaka Khan.
Oh my God.
Kool and the Gang. And so I was grateful. I'm grateful to have done some of their albums and OJ's last two albums, and Maurice White before he died with Earth, Wind, and Fire, his last album. Shaka Khan, I convinced her. She was screaming and kicking to do these standard songs with the London Symphony. And I said, one day you're going to be 75 and you're not going to want to be dancing on the stage. You want to sit on the stage. You want to sing these beautiful songs. And now when she performs, she sings like these standards, So that was fun days. And then I bought 5 management companies and these young men were in their late 20s, early 30s, and I made them billionaires. I'm so proud of that. And, I had some of the biggest artists in the R&B and rap hip hop world on the management side. So it was really amazing. Most people don't know that, don't know. Just think Beyonce, Destiny's Child, Solange, not knowing. I bought the manager who his company he managed Mary J. Blige. Most people don't know that.
I love that you shared that. And one thing I think that is in common with all of these acts you talked about and the way you've conducted yourself is there is an element of humility. There is some grace, and there is immense professionalism. And I've seen that certainly across your daughters and you, but a lot of those acts are the same. And that I give you a lot of credit for that because
thank you.
There's a lot of divas. There's a lot of bad actors who get a little too big for their britches. And that original advice that you got was stay humble. I think, it's obvious it still carries on today.
I remember one story. I bought these young managers. They were really smart. And one of them managed Lady Gaga. So those of you that wonder, well, how did Lady Gaga and Beyonce do this song Telephone?
Yes.
If you don't know the backstory or how Kelly Rowland got with Nelly and did Dilemma, well, I bought his management's company. So I remember this young manager calling me about midnight. He had just gotten Lady Gaga, because he managed Lady Gaga, her first major tour. And we talked to about 3 a.m. about touring and how to get it started. So, I look back and I smile because Again, people don't know this about me. They don't know my plethora of work that I've done.
I mean, I feel so honored that I'm getting to share it because I love the backstories. I think it's so interesting. And, when you get to hear how layered and how impactful all of your work was in building this incredible, incredible brand and human, that's really powerful stuff. And you kept some very, very good company. So bravo. Very, very
Thank you.
impressive. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's really, really cool. So you manage Music World Entertainment. You're running the record label. You've got all of these acts. It's going great. And then you take a pause or tell me what happened
No, what
next
happened
or
was, and then and no, Beyonce, I came up with a strategy that each one of the ladies in Destiny's Child, that we would start focusing also on their solo careers.
nice. Yeah,
So in Destiny's Child's last three albums, each one of the ladies also did solo
that's right.
albums. So they did three solo albums. Michelle had three number one gospel. That's where she came from, the church. And
Hmm.
so we focus on our passion. And Kelly had a number one song with Dilemma and won Grammys. And internationally, Kelly, still to this day, Australia,
Wow.
Europe, she's the it girl over there. And Beyonce was R&B. And
Hmm.
so we focus on their solo careers. And it makes me so proud because I was able to get Michelle her first job on Broadway
Oh,
doing Aida.
yes.
And now, since she's on Broadway as we speak, the musical she's in just got 10 nominations.
Tony,
But to
yeah.
go to the show and to see that I was a part of the strategy of her future,
Ugh,
that it would be on Broadway, is just a lot of gratitude I get from that.
what a moment of pride. That's really wonderful. So let's fast forward a little bit. So are you still running Music World or did
Yeah,
you?
Music World. We have about in Houston. We're in
Mhm,
Houston,
mhm.
and we have a block that I bought downtown Houston with record label. We had recording studios, rehearsal facilities, and now we're because Michelle is in gospel.
Mhm.
I decided to build a gospel label.
Mm,
And we worked with BET. They had a TV show called Sunday Best that was the number one show on BET. And so we were the back end record label. And so we built the number one gospel label in the world. Uh, Independent, we were number one. We actually beat out Universal,
mm.
and we were 2/10 of beating out Sony, a little small independent record label. And I was like, we did that? Had a wonderful team. It's not just I, it was we, because I have to say what an amazing team at Music World. And so we stayed in management, grew that. I bought back my company from Sanctuary in
Mm.
2008,
Mhm.
2009. And so I brought with me those artists we talked about,
Yeah.
and we continue to build. I bought a country label. Yes, yes, Black man bought a country label in 2008 called Compadre. You can Google
I
this.
love it.
Compadre Records. We had Billy Joe Shaver. For those, I can go on and on of the amazing country artists that we had. Kept that kind of on the down low. I never want anyone, I never was out front that I own Compadre Records
Yeah.
till Billy Joe one time about to put out his album, and he takes his girlfriend to a bar out in Texas, and him and this trucker gets into an argument. They go back. Billy Joe shoots the guy ears off, one of his ear off, and then I get him out of jail, and he's his first record, and he's like so apologetic. I'm so sorry, Mr. Knowles. I'm so sorry. I said, Billy Joe, you're on CNN. Your album is coming out next week. I'm glad you didn't hurt anybody,
I think it's pretty good.
but I couldn't have dreamed this.
God, thanks for being a dummy. That's really great.
But and so people are surprised Beyonce did a country album with her dad on the country label.
I mean,
But
that's
they don't
not
know
such a
that. See, you're
stretch.
letting people know that
That's
for the
not such a stretch. I love it. So
yeah.
at what point I'm gonna pivot a little bit because I really want to talk about some of the health issues that came your way, and that drives a lot of what you're working on now. So you were diagnosed with breast cancer. When was that, and how did that come about? I mean, the irony of selling these breast cancer diagnostic machines and then ultimately getting breast cancer, that had to be pretty shocking. And
Well, it was definitely a defining moment in my life.
yeah.
6 years ago, it will be 6 years in July.
Hmm.
And I just one day noticed red dots on my t-shirt.
Mm,
And I didn't think anything about it the first day. I asked my wife the second day, hey, is this some threads or what is this? And she said, when I clean the bed sheets for the last 3 days, there's been blood on your side of the sheets. I knew immediately.
yeah.
I've been trained. I did this at a high level. And I called my doctor. I said, I need to get a mammogram. He was like, what do you mean? I've been
Yeah.
doing this 40 plus years. I never had a man ask me for a mammogram.
Yeah.
And I'm saying, trust me, I need to get a mammogram. I got a mammogram and a biopsy, and sure enough, I had male breast cancer.
Yeah.
And think about 1980, the chances of me getting that job and then learning the technology, the
Yeah.
modality, and then it's now saving my own life. And literally
Incredible.
6 months prior, my sister-in-law, who was in her 40s with three young kids, died of breast cancer.
Ugh.
Uh, so, it allowed me, because I've been doing this since 1980.
Hmm.
I want women to know, and men, I've been on the mountain yelling as
Yeah.
loud as I can. Early detection, early
Early
detection.
detection. Yeah. But I think,
And
for men, it's always a surprise, right? That any man could have breast cancer. It's not something they think about. It makes them feel very vulnerable. So how common is it for men to have breast cancer?
about 22,000 men worldwide a year
Wow.
are diagnosed.
Yeah.
I'm proud to say that number is going up. And you would say, well, why would you
No,
want the
I know
number
why
to
you're
go
saying that.
up?
Yeah.
Why would you want the number to go up? I'm proud the number is going up because that means we're saving lives because more men are getting diagnosed
Diagnosed.
more.
Yeah.
So, so I'm proud of that. But the real something important to know here, Lyndsay, I was also diagnosed as BRCA2 with a BRCA2 variant.
Yeah.
And what that means for men, it's a mutations of my genes. What it means is that I higher risk of prostate cancer, which four of my dad's brothers died of, and my
Wow.
grandfather died of prostate cancer. I
Wow.
have a higher risk of melanoma. I have
Hmm.
a higher risk of breast cancer, obviously, and I
Sure.
have a higher risk of pancreatic cancer. And
Wow.
because I come from diagnostic imaging, every year I get MRI of my
Yeah.
pancreas, prostate,
Full
get my
body scan.
PSA.
Yeah.
I do all of that
And I would
every year.
imagine that changes your diet and the way that you stay active and I mean, when you have the BRCA gene, you can pass that on to your children. And now
Grandkids and
your
all of a
ex-wife is now
generation. Yeah.
she is also diagnosed with breast cancer. So I imagine having these conversations with your daughters is going to be really important. That early
Well, we've had
detection
those
is,
conversations and
yeah,
they are full aware. But because I was in the medical field, uh, the family have always been
good.
doing those annual types of major tests and
Yeah.
follow up. It's so critically important. So that's where I am now, is spreading that word around the world.
Mm,
I'm a motivational speaker. That's my number one gig.
yes. And you're the
Just
speaker for Zero Prostate. So talk
I'm
a
the
little bit about that.
Yeah, I'm fortunate to be the global leader for zero prostate. As we have an initiative that's coming up, the goal is to save 100,000 men's life
Love that.
lives. And I'm really a great team of folks there at Zero Prostate Cancer, really focused on doing those type of initiatives.
Mhm.
So you'll be hearing more about that. Uh, I am also the global ambassador for 23andMe, but they're having some challenges right now.
Yes.
I hope they overcome those. But I wanted to understand genetics, and I wanted people to understand at a young age, you should be getting a genetic test, especially if you have a family history.
Yes.
I'm talking 20, 30s if
Yes.
you have a family history.
Well, and
And
I
it's
don't know
such a
that
simple test.
that's not the advice that people are getting either. I mean, thankfully, they're bringing down the age for colonoscopies, so that's a good thing. We're seeing these full body scans that are happening, and mostly in Europe, not so much so in the US. But I really love this proactive approach to healthcare, and I think that can help save a lot of costs down the road. Like if you already have a propensity for developing disease, be ahead of it. And I think what you're talking about does that, and
And
that's
you're right, Lindsay. I lost 25 pounds. I still have 10 more, 15 more to go. Uh, I walk now. I look at nature. I never looked at nature. The things that
yeah.
weren't important to me 6 years ago. I watch sunsets now.
Oh, me too.
I
I
watch sunsets and I see the beauty of sunsets. It's changed my life in a much better way. I'm a
yeah.
much better man because I was diagnosed with cancer. I
Mm.
know that might seem odd to
No,
many.
I listen, I had a near-death experience, and the way that it changes the way you view your life, it really does. And you choose how you react to things. You choose the perspective you want to have on the world. So I get that. And nature is so grounding, and it's so good for you to be out and walking and active and appreciating it all. If you like the stories you hear every week on this show, guess what? I have hundreds more from my nearly 30 years in the leadership trenches. And I don't just talk about building irresistible culture, I do it. You can bring me into keynote, moderate your panels, or work directly with your leaders to drive material change. So let's roll up our sleeves, go out to heartbeatforhire.com, let's connect, and let's make some magic happen. Go lead with heart. So let me ask you a question. What inspires you?
Well, a lot of things inspire people, just life itself inspires me. Music inspires me.
Yes.
Uh, Now nature inspires me.
Mm.
I mean, it's just a number of things just in a day-to-day conversation of listening to someone. I might get inspired by something that they say.
Yeah.
Uh, Often I look out the window and there's a top producer that got hired by Sony and they paid him 5 million. I asked, why did you hire this guy? He doesn't do emails, he doesn't travel, uh, he write hit songs, and they say we pay him to look out the window. So often I look out the window, and we have a lot of windows here, and just I'm looking at the canyon over here. I'm looking at the Pacific Ocean over there.
He's
I'm
in
looking at
California, y'all.
mountains with snow caps over there. So it allows us to have a space of creativity,
Oh, yeah.
and all of that is inspirational.
I love that.
And my thing is, I don't want to just look back. Often we look back in our lives. I don't want to look back. I want to reach back
Mm.
and bring the young people. So, for 20 plus years, most people don't know. I teach at the London College of Contemporary Music. I taught at Pepperdine and hopefully will be teaching next year. There's a new position that will be announced at a university in Houston uh,
Love
in
it.
the next week or two. So I teach, I motivate, inspire. Uh, Hopefully, I can continue to do that at the level. I love getting on that stage or doing a fireside chat,
Yeah, me too.
just sharing my life. And people know it's authentic. It's authentic, and when
Well,
you can do
that's
that
what you are.
and be a thought leader, I do that with gratitude. I
That's
don't
great.
take it for granted.
Well, you kind of already answered some of my next question, but what would you like your legacy to be?
I've been asked that. I I don't want to define my legacy. I want you to define my legacy.
Hmm.
I I I I sometimes when I listen to somebody say, "Oh, my legacy," I'm like, wow, that has a little degree of arrogance in it.
Well,
I think I'd rather have you define what
that's
my legacy.
really, I will tell you, out of 155 episodes of recording this show, no one has ever answered it the same way. And it's a wide range of responses to if I could just help one person, or I want my legacy to be my children, or I want my legacy, here's the thing. We just did 2 episodes of your life, which has so much meat on the bone. Your legacy is solid, and it's just such a delight to hear your stories and share this space with you. So, what's next for Mr. Knowles?
What's next for me is just to continue to educate, motivate, and inspire. Just to continue to get on that stage and speak my truth. Uh, Selling records is one thing, but saving a life, man, that is so fulfilling. The thought that
Right.
hopefully that me saying 1 in 8 men in their lifetime will be diagnosed with prostate cancer, me saying 1 in 8 women in their lifetime will be diagnosed with breast cancer, that opens their awareness to how important it is
Yeah.
early detection and understand we can all count to four. 1, 2, 3, 4. Stage 4 cancer. It's devastating.
Yeah.
It's chemotherapy, radiation therapy. It's tough on your family, and your mortality might not be long.
Yeah.
Uh, Stage 1, which I'm grateful, stage 1A, a pill a day.
Yeah. That's my mother. She had breast cancer and was stage 1, luckily.
And,
So
and,
doing
and
great.
so, which do you want to pick?
Yeah.
All you have to do is get tested, men and women. Why is that so difficult to take 3 hours, maybe a day, parking or driving to save your life? Why is that so difficult?
Yeah. I mean, it needs to be, I think, the insurance is doing a good job of saying, no, this is covered now. You can go and get this test. You don't have to pay for it. Um, so I just hope more people take advantage of it. It's
Yeah,
such a reminder.
I'm giving tough love, Lindsay. I
No,
used
it's,
to,
it's not even that
I,
tough. You could be a lot
yeah,
tougher.
I used to, be, yeah, and there are people that literally can't afford it.
Yeah.
But there's people listening that have a $500 pair of shoes that can afford it. The hell with insurance.
Yeah.
Go and pay for it out of your own pocket.
Yeah.
Save your own life.
I agree. I agree. So you're doing keynoting, you're a 3-time author. Where can people find you?
Six.
6! Sorry, 6! Holy cow, I got that wrong. 6-time author. How can people find you?
Well, they can find me real simple. Mathew
With one
Knowles.
T.
One T. Now, why my parents did that to me? My dad is Matthew Quintel with 2 T's. All through high school, growing up in elementary, I thought I was Matthew Quintel. I get my birth certificate when I get President's Club at Xerox because none of us have probably seen our birth certificates in years. I'm Matthew with 1 T Edward. I don't know why they did that to me. But you can go to MathewKnowles.com and you can book me to speak or find out
Amazing.
everything about us. This has been
Amazing.
great, Lyndsay. Thank you
Well,
so much.
this has been such a joy. I am so grateful for you spending all this time with me and my audience. Guys, if you liked what you heard, please go out to Spotify, Apple, leave a 5-star review, go to YouTube, tell your friends, share this episode. It is so meaningful as we grow this show and continue to have extraordinary guests like Mr. Knowles. So, everyone, please go out there, lead with heart. Have a great day. Thank you for continuing to submit your questions to the Heartbeat for Hire podcast. The question that I have to answer today is, what do I do when I have a top performer who is totally toxic? Well, I've had this situation happen, and you need to understand what is going on with them. In my situation, I had a rep who was making I'm not exaggerating, $1 million commission checks. She was crushing it. However, she stepped on everyone along the way. And I had multiple calls every day of people that didn't want to work with her anymore. I had to sit down with her and I had to explain that the way she was conducting herself was not okay and that she needed these people who were supporting her for contracts, for technical help, for whatever. Um, and no one had ever called her out before. And I found that to be shocking because she had been in this role for almost a decade, maybe more. It was my job to explain why what she was doing was wrong. And it was really, really important that she understand that I was doing this to help her and doing it with heart and that I wanted her to be better. And because I took that risk and I told her that I wasn't going to take any more of those calls and she needed to do better, she actually stopped and asked me a lot of questions about what I was hearing and about how she could change. And what ended up happening was we built an incredible level of trust with each other. We built a really, really wonderful rapport. We're still friends to this day, and she's a better rep as a result. So I invite you to have the tough conversation. I invite you to obviously lead with heart and explain why this is such a toxic way of acting. But they also need to understand that if they cannot change their ways, they will be managed out of the business because they will be like a cancer to the rest of the team. And that is entirely unfair to everyone else that is working their butts off. I hope that helps. Thanks for listening to this episode of Heartbeat for Hire. I hope you enjoyed what you heard. If you did, please subscribe to my YouTube channel or consider leaving a 5-star review and a great rating at Spotify or Apple. Thank you so much for your support. Have a great day.